My wife, 38, and I, 39 male, have been married for 12 years and have 3 kids, tween, pre-tween, and young grammar schooler. We live reasonably close to family on both sides. Our house isn't huge, but big enough for our family. However, no one else on my wife's side of the family lives in a house. Her siblings all either rent homes with roommates or live in apartments. Her parents downsized into a smaller townhome about 5 years ago. As a result, anytime our family wants to get together for a holiday or special occasion, we end up hosting. It's not even a discussion with her family anymore. Everyone just assumes that we're going to be the ones who host. We at least rotate major holidays between my family and hers. Still, my siblings and parents can also host gatherings, so hosting duties are spread out amongst us. But every Thanksgiving, Xmas, 4th of July, Easter, etc., that we spend with her family, we host. And her family are not the best guest. They'll bring food if we ask, but anytime there's cleanup or other help, they're nowhere to be found. I've repeatedly expressed my dislike of this arrangement to my wife. She's insisted that I don't say anything to her family about it and that I let her handle it. However, nothing has ever changed. We hosted Christmas for our family this year and it sucked. People showed up late, forgot the food they were supposed to bring. No one helped with cleaning. People let their kids make messes, etc. Same old story as every other time. After that, I told my wife I was done. I told her I don't want to host her family until someone else in her family steps up and hosts something, or we book some other venue and we all chip in to pay for it. She promised to talk to her family about it and figure something out for the next holiday. For Easter this year, we were supposed to just have it be our family, no extended family. But a couple of weeks ago, my wife met with her mom and her sister for lunch. When she got home, she told me that she had talked to them about how hard hosting Christmas was. She said her mom and sister agreed that they would do better and offered to prove it to us on Easter, and my wife agreed. We got into a huge fight over it. I told my wife that she was on her own for this one. I told her that I would be spending the entirety of Easter weekend with my family, and I'll take any kids who want to come. But I will not be helping with any of the hosting duties whatsoever. She thinks I'm overreacting and need to give her family this final chance because her mom and sister seemed sincere during their talk. I told her I didn't care what they said. I would not be involved at all because I wouldn't be able to hold my tongue this time, and I didn't want it to come to that. She's not happy with me at all, but I don't really care. To top it all off, all 3 of our kids want to come spend the weekend with me instead of staying home. Not the idiot. What she means is she never told them you weren't hosting. When she met up with them, they brought up Easter dinner, assuming it would be at your house, but she got a few quick words in about how they need to help clean up as you're getting frustrated with it. Otherwise, she acted as a doormat for her family at your expense. Go hang out with your family, but don't expect your wife to explain why you left her all alone. She'll say your mom insisted you be there, or something to that effect, and no lessons will be learned by anyone. 100% this. Oh, and let me guess, your kids get stuck cleaning up their rooms all by themselves after the other kids help mess it up and then just leave. I'd be going with you too if I were them. She doesn't seem to hear you when you say you're done hosting her family. I understand she might feel slightly obligated to do so since no one else in the family has a place for it. Still, if you're tired of it, she's got to get a grip on that and figure out another option. How much do you want to bet that that house will be a disaster area when he gets home and she'll expect his help cleaning it up? The wife needs to grow a spine and tell her family that you all already have plans with the OP's family. Let them plan their own things. That's the only way they'll learn. I, 32 female, have an infant daughter with my husband, 34 male. My country does ensure a long maternity leave for up to 2 years. However, I'm self-employed and cannot afford to lose my clients, so I try to work while my daughter's sleeping and during the weekends. Lately, she's been teething, so I'm operating on little to no sleep. I have an issue with my mother-in-law. She does what she wants despite people asking her not to, and then says, oops, or denies doing it. Things like that. It was annoying before the baby, but after she was born, it became insufferable. My husband talked to her and set boundaries, so she stopped doing that when my husband was present, but she was still doing it when it was only me in the room. So we agreed she couldn't visit when my husband wasn't at home, and my husband was not to leave me alone with her. Because of these boundaries, we didn't see them for 1.5 months. They lived 2 hours away, and we didn't find a mutually suitable time. They finally came over last Sunday. 20 minutes into the visit, my father-in-law wants to see a lawnmower that's broken down, so my husband goes into the backyard with him, leaving me, the baby, and my mother-in-law inside. She's drinking coffee and eating cake. She sits next to my daughter on her playmat and tries to feed her some of the cake. I immediately told her no, she couldn't have that. Mother-in-law pretends not to hear me and proceeds to put her spoon to my daughter's closed mouth. I repeat, stop doing that. She can't have cake yet. And definitely not from your spoon. Still, she pretends not to hear me. I repeat it again. Still nothing. And now there's cake on my baby's face, and she's fussing. So I grab my daughter and go to my husband and father-in-law, subtly gesturing for him to come back inside. After about 5 minutes, mother-in-law decided to go outside too and approach me and the baby. I gestured to my husband again, and he made an annoyed face. I had no energy to deal with any of this. So I stood up, went inside, grabbed the baby bag and car keys, and went to the car without saying a word. Mother-in-law asked me where I was going, and I ignored her. I drove to my sister's, which is about a 15-minute drive. There were some missed calls from my husband, so I texted him where we were and told him that we'd be back in the evening. It was time for my daughter to nap, and she fell asleep breastfeeding, so my sister told me to sleep too. After she woke up and had her milk, my sister took her and told me to go back to sleep. I slept 3 hours in total, and my phone was on silent, so my husband's calls were ignored. Apparently, his parents left disappointed, and his mother-in-law cried. My husband is furious I did this. We're still fighting about it. He couldn't believe I was so rude and took the baby away when his parents came to see her after such a long time. He's angry that I couldn't have waited a few minutes for him to finish talking about the lawnmower. I told him I'm too exhausted to deal with this crap. He left me alone with the mother-in-law, despite our agreement. Be it only 10 minutes, so I left. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your mother-in-law should respect your boundaries, especially when it's about your baby. And your husband should have your back on that. I do understand that seeing his mother cry and be upset must be uncomfortable and hurt him, but then he should talk to her about it instead of making you the bad person. The only thing I think you did wrong was not picking your daughter up after the first time you said it and mother-in-law didn't listen. Maybe that would have made things go more smoothly. But then again, it shouldn't really be necessary. I think it's important that you stand up for your boundaries, and your husband should support you on that. What is it with older people and feeding cake to babies? My grandma tried to give cake to my daughter when she was 3 or 4 months old. This kind of behavior worries me. Because what if the baby is allergic to something? You absolutely cannot trust mother-in-law around that baby, unsupervised for even a second. I don't get this at all. I'm grandparent aged, and our kid's first taste of cake was on their first birthday. I wouldn't dream of feeding a baby cake or anything against parental rules. I understand your husband can't be in 2 places at once. Still, you should have put your mother-in-law on a leash in the garden or something, since she just wouldn't stop. OP, you have a husband problem as much as a mother-in-law problem. Do not let him turn any of this back on you. He and his mother have a lot to apologize for. My 21 female, sister 23, is a darn mess. She was a lot growing up, and each week some issue would appear. The situation could be as simple as a tantrum or mom and dad getting a call from the school. In short, she was a lot. Not to mention therapy for her basically drained the family dry. I was given more freedom since my parents trusted me. I could go to the mall alone, and they would know they wouldn't get a call from security about stealing. That happened before. So they trusted me and gave me more freedom to do stuff. I've literally watched her get a chance to prove our parents can trust her and then mess it up. Our relationship isn't good. My dad gave me his old car for my last year of college. I needed it for an internship. My sister made a comment that, of course, the golden child gets a car. I snapped and told her that I was not the golden child. I just wasn't a pain in the butt. The family has drained themselves dry for her multiple times and to keep her mouth shut. She called me a jerk and ran to her room. Am I the idiot for telling my sister that I'm not the golden child? Ran to her room? Wait, how old is she? 23? Let me guess, she's unemployed too. For your sake, just walk away from her and don't interact with her when she becomes toxic. She sounds like she perpetually makes herself the victim, no matter what happens. Stick to your guns and go low contact with her. She is clearly a toxic person. OP, some people just live in their own reality. I suggest you ignore her and move on with your own life. In my experience, it never gets better. Toxic people don't want to improve. They just push your buttons until you lash out so they can point a finger and say that they were right all along. LOOOOL, not the idiot. You should point out to her that if her definition of golden child is that your parents are giving you stuff, then you could make the case that she's the golden child since your parents spent tons of money on therapy for her. You did nothing wrong. Your sister is a spoiled brat. And personally, I'm sick and tired of bratty children who hide behind the "my sibling is the golden child" mindset. Good luck, OP. I, a female teen, entered our yearly town raffle, not thinking I'd win. I just bought tickets because I supported the charity. There are always good prizes, with the top one being a $1,000 gift card. My stepmom won a fancy wine and food basket, which she told us she'd enjoy all to herself, as it was her prize. And with the pregnancy/money troubles, she said she deserved something just for her. About 2 days later, while at my mom's, I got a text saying that I won. After collecting my prize, my mom said I should spend it on things I've always wanted, but we couldn't afford. So I did. I got nice shoes, perfume, makeup, etc. Here's where I made a mistake. I posted to social media about winning and what I got. Within 30 minutes, Dad called me and told me that I was selfish and cruel to buy myself unnecessary crap while I knew they were struggling. Stepmom then got on the phone and asked how much I had left. So I said, $280. She then asked if I would return my stuff, or at the very least, give them the gift card so they could get stuff for the baby because I knew how badly they were struggling. I said no. Just like her gift basket, it was mine to keep. She started crying and calling me names I couldn't understand, and Dad took the phone, saying he was disappointed in me and that I'd changed the way he viewed me. I just hung up afterward. Dad told my mom that I shouldn't come over for a few weeks until everyone calms down. My stepsister texted me saying, screw them, they shouldn't be having more kids that they can't afford. But my stepmom has been sending me messages, begging me to help them out for the innocent baby's sake. Now I feel extremely guilty. Not the idiot. Your stepsister is exactly right. Your dad and stepmom's decision to have more children is not your responsibility. You're still a child yourself, and they're responsible for paying for your and your siblings' care, not the other way around. It may be a blessing that you get some distance from your dad. If it continues, consider making it official that your mom has 100% custody, which would likely mean that your dad would owe your mom child support payments. I'd love it if mom got 100% custody, but dad would rather spend money in court to fight it than child support. And if I'm being honest, I'd miss my stepsister. We're really close. I won't lie, I've enjoyed it. I know this will sound pathetic, but I've never had brand name things that were new, so opening those boxes just can't describe the happiness it gave me. Keep those messages from your stepmom too, OP. Your stepmom shouldn't be begging a teenager for money for her baby. In fact, keep any messages you get from them regarding this. If your dad has money to fight for custody in court, he shouldn't need his teen daughter's gift cards. You just learned a valuable lesson. Never advertise you won money. I don't care how much it is. Someone will always decide they should get a piece of it because since you won it, you didn't work for it, so you really don't deserve it. While it might be a nice gesture for you to help them out, they have absolutely no right to try to guilt you into helping them. They're layering it on thick. Your stepsister's right. They shouldn't be having children they can't afford. You can't bail them out. They will continue to demand and demand. Stepmom is definitely the idiot. Her prize is all for her. Your prize is all for her. What a hypocrite. My husband Jim, 39, and myself, 37 female, have been together for 15 years, married for 3, and homeowners for 10. We're lucky to have more than one unused bedroom, and we agreed that we would each get an empty room as an office or studio. We both teach music lessons from home to supplement our income, Jim more frequently than me. However, his office gets cold in the winter, so I offered to let Jim teach in my office when I'm not using it, which is most of the time to be honest, to avoid turning up the heat in his room. Since then, Jim's office has gradually become a glorified closet space for figurines, posters, an ant farm, Legos, and any number of collectibles. There is no more room to walk around the room, much less to teach violin lessons. Although I understand that these objects are special to Jim, I've told him several times that I'm not thrilled with collectibles as a pastime. There's a history of hoarding in Jim's family, not to mention the money that could have gone towards retirement or another investment. However, since this is supposed to be his room, I've never outright forbid him to buy and collect items or issued any ultimatums about clearing his space. Thanks to Jim's teaching, we don't have any actual financial problems. So long as the collections have stayed in his office, I've let it be. I thought this agreement was clear, but perhaps it wasn't as clear as I thought. When I came home from work yesterday, Jim told me that he had installed shelves above the door to his office on the exterior side, in my absence, for more collectibles. He had told me about the shelves, but I mistakenly understood that they would be inside the room, not on the outside. I got visibly angry and told him that it was out of the question that his collectibles start to encroach on the rest of the house, as the room was already utterly useless for doing anything other than looking at his crap. Okay, I admit that was harsh, and I would like to live in a space that looks like it belongs to actual adult people. Also harsh. I've never done a small home update that Jim doesn't love, so I don't think we need to agree 100% on every little detail about the house. But this has gone too far. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Firstly, whether hoarding runs in his family or not, you're not qualified to diagnose it. Secondly, if he was in the beginning stages of hoarding, do you realize that restricting him in this way and shaming him for his interest will actively contribute to that urge to hoard more? Why do you get the final say through the rest of the house? Why can't your husband display a couple of his interests in appropriate cabinets or shelves elsewhere? Maybe if he didn't feel he had to stuff everything in one tiny space, his office wouldn't be too crowded to move through. Yeah, you're treating your husband like a child. His hobbies are no less worthy than yours. Many people collect stamps or China dolls, or any number of things, sneakers or sports memorabilia too. Your agreement sounds like an unfair demand, and you need to revisit how you share space that belongs to both of you. Not the idiot, but sadly, it seems history is repeating itself. Your husband is a hoarder. Look, can an armchair psychologist jump in here? It's not about the shelves. It's about him not clearly communicating with you what he wants to do. It's about his hobby taking over more than one room. It's about him taking over your room, thus leaving you without personal space. Just tell him he has to teach from his room from now on. He has to figure out what to do with his stuff without taking over any other parts of the house. Tell him that he has the weekend to figure it out because you feel that you don't have any space that's only yours anymore, and any space that's for the both of you without having your hobbies spill into the common space. The question is, what are you going to do if he refuses to go back to his room?